What up, Skid? Welcome to Bar Vibes with Bryce the Fourth, giving out raw reactions and interacting with the masses. No subject is safe. You'll hear the people and the noises, and that's the point, because without the people, what is the point? Embrace the vibrations. First and foremost, and it's like, I'm just going to get straight to the point, and I don't really have anything else to say, but Kanye, you're fucking, I don't know what the hell you're doing right now, but I hope you have an end game where this is just like some elaborate joke where you're just making money or whatever, but this is not cool. Anywho, let's go Birds! I was at the game. I didn't even write notes for this because I didn't need to. They started off the game and it was, we came out scoring. They scored, and I'm like, all right, cool, all right, we got a game. No, we don't. No, there was no game to be had. They got fucking demolished. I've only ever been to one other Titans game. Also lost, and that was the game where Josh Huff ran back the 108-yard kick return. Shout out to Drizzle. Thank you for the tickets, and thank you for taking me to the game. The Titans had no fucking shot winning this game, and I love it because people were like, oh, the Eagles haven't played anybody. Oh my God, they're just... No, the schedule comes out, we play who we play, we beat who we beat. There has been a couple games, and obviously we have a loss on the year to the Commanders, but we've handled people. And then I just got to get into the point where A.J. Brown is a motherfucking bully. This was his get-back game, and he knew it, and it's a credit to his character to know, hey, I don't need to get too high, I don't need to get too low. I know who I am, I know how well I can play. I'm about to go out here and just trash him. And he got the coach fired. I was scrolling Twitter and I was like, oh, Titans head coach fired. I was like, damn. A.J. Brown got this man fired. Anywho, just to get down to the logistics of the game, Devontae Smith is showing you when nobody's paying attention to me and I get one-on-ones, it's a wrap. I didn't win a Heisman for no reason. A.J. Brown is a godsend for him. Jalen Hurts, and if you're not talking about him being an MVP, you don't watch football. It just makes no sense. We rushed for less than 100 yards maybe. Miles Sanders had 24 yards and a touchdown. Didn't need it. Jalen was like, yeah, I'll stand in here. Throw it all over the goddamn yard. Titans had... Derrick Henry had 30 yards on the ground. Tannehill had more yards rushing than him. I don't need to go into detail because if you watch it, you realize they just overpowered them. It was just to go down the field and score. I love that the special teams got a lot better for the Eagles, a lot better. Britton Covey, he found his lanes. I understand, when he was in college, it was just wide open lanes. Now he has to learn how to find those lanes, and he's learning it right now, and I love it. It was just an electric place, and I always love to be in the link. So I only got a couple letters for y'all. EAGLES Eagles. Let's go Birds. Shout out to Booba. Vikings Jets. The Jets are 9-0 when they're winning by less than double digits, and it's wild. Kirk Cousins started the game off 0 for 8. He was throwing a lot of high balls. He was missing a lot of receivers, and then he went 13 for 16. For the Jets, their kicker kept them in the game, Greg the Leg, Zerline, and he had one kick that went 60 yards. I would love to know, and I hate when they do this thing where they put it it would have won 72. Actually, this one I would actually like to know. It was at the top of the fucking net. I think he could have kicked that thing for 70. The big difference from the Jets defense keeping them in the game with Mike White and the defense keeping them in the game from Zach Wilson is that Mike White makes good decisions and he's a gamer, whereas Zach Wilson tries to be so conservative and it's like he doesn't trust himself, and I don't understand it. The Vikings tried to keep the Jets in this game, and Mike White was making some good throws. He did have a terrible turnover, but that's what Mike White does because he's gunslinger. The Vikings run game, they came in the clutch. Dow Cook, that's my guy. I've been saying it all year. It's my favorite running back in the league. And then it's so funny because whenever Madison, the other Vikings running back, comes in the game, I'm like, wait, who the fuck is that? Oh, wait, no, that wasn't Dalvin? Oh, okay, I don't know. The Jets still have a legit opportunity to win the division with a little less mistakes, and they got to start quicker. They don't do well playing from behind. And I'll give them their flowers. It turns out that the Vikings they're pretty good. They're pretty good. You don't just stumble on 10 wins in 12 games, 13 games. That just means that you got a good team. So, hey, give them their flowers. Dallas Colts. Indy started very efficient. They had a good balance with their pass and run. Obviously, the Dallas defense is really good. They showed up after the first Colts touchdown, but the Dallas pass rush was just too much. Again, I've said it again, broken record. Micah Parsons is just that guy. Dak was dinking and dacking and dinking and dunking. I got that from Skip Bayless, whatever, but I'll give him this credit. A very mediocre passing game, and I already talked about the Eagles, but that's the difference between our teams is that, again, we showed you we don't need to run the ball. We can just pass it over your head, whereas they need the run game, but they did it, and they did it very effectively. Run game was just too much for the Colts. Matt Ryan, I'm sorry, man. You just have to call it. You just got to call it, man. As well as he's done, and he's been an MVP in this league, it might be a wrap for you. On a related note, the Dallas helmets look like poop. You put the 3 fucking lines to red, white, and blue to honor that person who was in the military, but it looked like a French helmet. It was like, if you go back and look, it looked like they were wearing France on their heads. Either way, they shellacked them. 50 buckets. That's a commanding win. So hey, they got it. Niners Dolphins. The very first play, 74-yard touchdown. That was electric, and then the Dolphins just fizzled. It sucks that Jimmy G got hurt yet again, and they said he was out for the year. From what I've heard recently, he's not. He's got to get surgery. They said he could possibly be back for the playoffs. But the Niners are showing you that you don't often need an elite quarterback. You just need playmakers. Their backup to their backup, because their other backup is also hurt. He got in. He did pretty well. He threw 2 touchdowns. He didn't put the ball in harm's way, but the Niners defense is just electric. Tua was very, very inaccurate for most of the game. I saw him overthrow players. I saw him throw low, and I think he was just reeling and trying to like put his team back in the game, but the Niners was just better. So Jimmy G is a game manager. If you can ask, as a coach, for him to just do that, like don't be a hero. Just go in the game, make the throws, make the little reads, and then let the rest of the game take hold. The Niners are still in it. If I was a Niners fan, I wouldn't be. I can understand, hey, damn, we lost our starting quarterback. I wouldn't be worried. As an Eagles fan, I wouldn't want to play the Niners just because they are elite at everything they do, and they're obviously the number 1 defense in the league. Tua's got to protect the ball for the Dolphins. This is his first loss starting this season, and it's okay though. They can still win the division. They got to worry about the Jets. If Mike White can get on his horse, that was pretty dope. If you understand, if you know, you know. But that's a dub. Bengals Chiefs. This is a game that shows you that this is not the same old Chiefs that they had for the past 4 years. It's a little different. It's like when you go, oh, you see the Seahawks, and it's like, oh, it's the Legion of Boom. No, that was a minute ago. Or before that, if you watch football, you see the Ravens, you're like, oh yeah, they're beasts. They are beasts on defense. No, that was before. When you look at the Chiefs and you're like, oh yeah, they're going to throw it on the top of your head. That's not the way they do. And I'm not saying the Chiefs are bad. I'm just saying that their brand of offense is way different. Their run offense is killing them. They're missing Edwards-Helaire. Pacheco is actually pretty good. It's so weird seeing him wearing 10. Excuse me, I heard a joke. He said he's... I'm not even going to make the joke. It's problematic. It was just about Tyreek Hill, but whatever. On the other hand, Bengals run game is fire. Perine, power back, just running over people, especially without... Well, they had Joe Mixon, but without Joe Mixon being the main back, they were getting it done. The Bengals are right where they were last year when they went to the Super Bowl. Same record, and I mean, this is what you do when your team is gelling. You go into, the wintertime December games, and you just start winning. The Tyler Boyd wide open drop was out of control. And also Pat Mahomes, this man dived into the end zone like he was fucking Michael Jordan. I honestly thought that it was a fumble, but hey, listen, I'm not an official, so I don't know. End of the day, Joe Burrow continues to show you what a franchise quarterback looks like. Standing in the pocket, making plays on his feet when he needs to. He's not a mobile. He's not a mobile quarterback, but he knows when it's time to take off. And the Chiefs just played a formidable opponent. Joe Burrow has beaten Pat Mahomes 3 out of 3 times. Possible rematch in the playoffs. I'm here for it. That's good football. Rams Seahawks. The Rams put them in a walk, man. They fucking cooked. This is the biggest Super Bowl hangover I've ever seen. And I understand that they've been injured. I understand that Matt Stafford is on IR. But that injury killed him. Bobby Wagner going back to his old team. He did his best to get his looking for revenge. He did his best. That man had like 2 sacks. I think he had a fumble recovery. And people were forgetting about the Seahawks because they were in a 2-game losing streak. Beginning of the season, like they were just talking about Geno Smith, the quarterback. And he's still trying to get that bag. And kudos to him to do that. I love to see the competitiveness from Metcalf and Jalen Ramsey. There was a play where so in football, if you motion a player and the other team doesn't move the corner, it's zone. And DK was like, no, come on over here, man. He was like, I mean, the play wasn't called for him. And then all of a sudden, at the end of the game, DK Metcalf catches the winning touchdown on who? Jalen Ramsey. It's just crazy to see how far the Rams rose and then how far they fell. The Seahawks are definitely still alive in the playoff hunt. And it's crazy to see how when they made the trade for Matt Stafford, they were like, oh, Drew Lock's going to be... No. Geno was like, nope, I got this. Don't worry about that. Packers, Bears. The Bears, they started out, I'm like, all right, cool, because like I said, I was at the game. I'm like, all right, here we go. They had it in the beginning. They were up 10-0. And as I'm watching them, thinking like, all right, the Bears might be able to they might be able to pull this one out. Justin Fields was fairly healthy. He was more than 85. I would say he was at 90%. He had that bomb-ass 55-yard run. Put him up. I'm like, all right, let's go. And then I remembered Aaron Rodgers has beaten them 7 times in a row. And this would make it 8. The Packers got a little lost on defense in the beginning to start, but they didn't give up on the run game. And I said this a couple weeks ago. I'm like, you got A.J. Dillon and fucking Aaron Jones. Just run the ball. The Bears have no go-to receiver, and I think that's the deciding factor. Again, with the Eagles, you can see that. They just gave him a receiver, and then all of a sudden, here we go. You don't have to rely on, just a play where you're rolling out all the time, yada, yada, yada. They need to get this man some help, or it's just going to be a waste. And I hope I don't get to see that because I like to see good football. And Justin Fields is a really good player. He looks like Jalen, but without help. You hate to see it. Christian Watson for the Packers has 7 touchdowns in the last 4 games. North Dakota State, I mean, Carson did it. I'm just saying. The weird thing about this game, so the announcer goes, yeah, Aaron Rodgers turned 39 today. Aaron Jones turned 29 today. They have the same birthday. And I was like, duh. That's what that means. They have the same birthday. Why did you have to announce that? Come on, man, be better. Lions, Jags. This game was pretty cut and dry. The score pretty much told you everything you needed to know. It's 40-14. The Jaguars are still growing. I get that. They do have playmakers. It's just about chemistry, and they'll get there. I believe that because they Dougie P, man, got a Super Bowl, and with Jimmy G injured, I think that Jared Goff is the best game manager in the league. He had over 300 yards, and I believe that the Lions did not put one single time the entire game. They didn't punt, not once. They did not punt the ball the entire game. For the Jaguars, Trevor Lawrence looked like he might have got injured. He was writhing around. I'm like, oh shit, that's not good. But he came back in the game. He was all right. You just got to be better. The Lions are 5 of the last 6, and it's crazy to say that they're 5-7. If the Vikings got a lock on that on that division, but crazier things have happened, and they could possibly be vying for a playoff berth. Save that man's job. Either way, Broncos, Ravens. I was following it during the Eagles game, and I was with a Ravens fan, and the scoreboard was right across from me, and I could see it. I was like, "Oh, it's 3-0." I was like, "Oh, okay, it was cool, first quarter, whatever." Looked up again. I was like, "Oh, it's still 3-0. What the fuck?" Looked again. I was like, "Oh, it's 6. Okay, what the fuck is happening? I don't know what's happening in here. Like they should be hooping on them." They lived in the middle of the fucking field all day. Mind you, I wasn't at the game. I wasn't paying attention to it. I didn't realize that Lamar got hurt yet again, which is alarming because any other quarterback, they'd be like, oh, he's injury prone. This happened before. Might want to be worried about that. The Broncos don't really have an excuse except they're very limited. But when I say that they're very limited, I mean one person is very limited, and his last name is Wilson. He might want to... Broncos just need to throw this whole fucking season away. I don't know why his teammates... Oh, I'm sorry. I do know why his teammates like him because he feels like he's... I'm not even going to judge this man here. I feel like he thinks that he's above everybody else. But someone's going to have to be the scapegoat in Denver. And it's not going to be the guy who's making $140 million. So I feel bad for their coach, but it is what it is. And, you know, their backup for the Ravens, I mean, he came in and he got him the dub 10-9. Whoop-de-fucking-do. But at least they didn't fucking tie, because that would have been fucking awful. At the end of the day, I just hope that Lamar comes back, because the Ravens did have a team that could go to the playoffs, and yet again, he has an in-ear injury, so. Raiders, Chargers. I feel like a fucking broken fucking record when I talk about the Chargers every single fucking week. Justin Herbert plays great. Defense sucks. They kick them into the game, and then somehow after being up with a big lead, they lose the game. Justin Herbert plays great. Defense is sucky. They kick them into the game, and then somehow after being up with a big lead, they lose the game. They were up 10 for 2 quarters. And somehow they lose the game. I also don't think that Derek Carr does it on purpose, but I feel like he forgets that he has a top 3 receiver on his team, and then all of a sudden Davante Adams just goes the fuck off. And like he didn't throw to him until like the end of the second quarter, and then all of a sudden here comes Davante Adams. But I don't know what it is. Like people say, like, yeah, you know, Herbert doesn't play defense. I get that. The man's never had a winning record in his entire NFL career. They praise him all the time. Somehow you just gotta pull these dubs out. My other lasting, point from this game is Josh Jacobs is going to get paid. It's very difficult to pay, a running back a second contract. That man never goes down. He's a free agent next year. And as much as I would love to see Miles come back, which I think he will for the Eagles, if that man's a free agent, Lord Beers, you got to go get him. He refuses to let his teams lose, and I love to see it. He just runs through people. His yards after contact is just utterly ridiculous. I think the week that Jalen ran for 157, Josh Jacobs had 137 after the first person touched him. That's crazy. Pay that man. Browns Texans. It makes me laugh how hard people try to tiptoe around saying Deshaun Watson's name, and now they actually have to on national television. It's nothing you can do about it. I'm sorry. And if you don't think that they scheduled this game with him playing his former team and letting go and then getting guaranteed money wasn't on purpose, you're a fucking idiot. The score doesn't really tell you that Watson was actually pretty awful in his return. They had a fumble recovery for a touchdown, a pick six, and a punt return. He didn't do shit. He was actually terrible. He threw a fucking red zone pick, which is very much so understandable. If you remember when like Mike Vick came back, he wasn't that great when he had to start after 2 years of not playing football. It's okay, but I'm just letting you know if you didn't watch the game, this man was not good. They won the game because of the other elements of the game. It makes you wonder how his teammates feel after having Jacoby Brissett in the game for the first 11 games, and they were fairly, okay. They were viable, but that was his role. I mean, he was just there to, be the guy until he came back. Texans, they're 110-1. There's nothing I can really say about that. I hope they don't waste Dameon Pierce, their running back. I hope they don't waste him. They do need to get a quarterback, but I mean, that was the game. That was it. There's nothing really to say about that. There was a lot of games like that this week. There was just like nothing to really say. Just like the Steelers, Falcons. Now, I would say the score doesn't really talk about how actually this game was actually pretty good. It was 19-16, but it was back and forth. The defenses were showing up. It was Kenny Pickett showing that he's still growing. He did have a couple hiccups. He has a really good receiving core, and I think that the Falcons just like shoot themselves in the foot like constantly. They had a stronghold, like choking the goddamn division, and they just don't. They could be like 2 games up because, and I'll get into it in a second. The other teams in the division weren't like, there were no threats. They could be 2 up and they just shoot themselves in the foot. I mean, Marcus Mariota came out firing. He looked pretty healthy. He had his weapons out there, and I don't understand why the Falcons just don't know how to win. I would love to talk more about this game, but I don't have anything else to say. I really don't. They just out field goaled them. That was pretty much it. Kenny Two Gloves just came out there and got the dub. That was it. I would love to talk more about it. I really would, but that was it. Jeez. Tom Brady, if you look at the box score, if you look at the end of the score, you go like, damn, look at Tom, man, he did it again. The Saints and the Bucks. The Saints were kicking their asses for 55 fucking minutes. They were down 16-3, getting their asses whooped. And the Bucks just were giving the game away. Mark Ingram, what are you doing in the fourth quarter? It's a 2nd and 8. You run the ball, and you run out of bounds with another yard to go. You get that yard, and then you run the clock down. You don't give this man more time to. Christian Olave with a drop first down on 3rd and long. Taysom Hill with a dime from Andy Dalton, like the dime to put the game away. They gave this game to fucking Tom Brady in his stocking on Christmas. It's like, here you go. And of course, Tom Brady's gonna dink. He's gonna dunk. He's gonna give it to the open player. Again, if you don't watch the games or you don't even watch the highlights, you don't understand. The Saints literally handed this game away. I couldn't believe it. They could have beat them by like 20. And yet again, you give the ball to Tom Terrific, the GOAT. I'll give him that. And you give him the game. this division is terrible. There's not one single winning team in this division, and yet the Bucks are on top because they have the GOAT. I don't like to see that. Unrelated, excuse me. So, Joe, the manager at this bar, he gave me this weird ass take, and I thought it was. He started explaining it to me, and I was like, no, like stop. But then I thought about it. I was like, actually, you know, that's actually pretty funny. So Jimmy G goes down, and then he was like, what if the Colts gave Nick Foles to the Niners, and then they made it to the NFC Championship game, hosted in Philly? I was like, the worst part about that is, as much as I love Nick Foles, Super Bowl champion, they would have to boo him. He'd have to get booed. He would have to get booed, and that sucks. That would be so funny if it was like Nick Foles taking another team to an NFC Championship game. He would get booed. Sorry, I personally wouldn't boo him, but I know people who would boo him. He would get booed. It is what it is. The World Cup. I actually put my head down, but I don't really mean that because I said this was not the year. I knew that they weren't strong enough to like move forward. I was happy that they made it out of the group stage, especially in the circumstances that they had where they had to win a game and they got back in the game and they did it. And you know, credit, they had a lot of chances to score goals, but there's just teams better than them, and that's okay. This wasn't the year that I was expecting them to be good. Now, in 4 years, 2024, when they're hosting it on our home turf, yeah, y'all better win that bitch. I'm just win a couple games, at least win a game after the group stage. I'm just saying, USA. Anywho, big ups to the first date. Stay focused and be great. Take a sip. Much love from the kid. Enjoy your day. Enjoy life. Stay chill. And speaking of chill, it's getting chilly out here, so fellas, you might want to get covered up and get your ass in the bed and get cuddled up, because it's about that time.